Hey guys, what's up? It's Kylie, Dean, and Jamie coming at you live from all over the world. All over the world. It's a cloudy, hazy day here in Nelson, British Columbia. But yeah, it's good. This week's been killer. I left you guys hanging on the weekend, which is awful. I hate making plans and then just blowing them out. So I'm gonna make an apology online on air. But it was good. We got on. I'm like, you guys can come and physically abuse me when you come and visit. So that's the thing. That's why I did it, right?
Dean doesn't need to be asked twice.
So yeah, but then today we got on early and that was awesome. That was fun doing what we were doing. And yeah, the last time we talked, I gave you guys a little bit of a tour of the van, and maybe we can do that again today because yeah, 1 week out, and this is a distant memory. So
for those that weren't watching, Jamie got a lot of attention for his toolbox, which maybe you'll be lucky enough to see later.
Yeah,
it's one way to entice our viewers.
You want to see the box?
If you want to see Jamie's toolbox, just put something in the comments, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Or smash the like button if you guys are watching this right now. Hit the likes and
is there a toolbox like icon? Is there a little toolbox emoji?
Shall I have a quick look? Maybe there is.
There must be like a hammer or a saw. Drop an emoji. Yeah.
Totally.
But I mean, we're here to talk about some other things today, Jamie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that when there's when Dean starts the recording again. We're talking about like the little things. It was funny because this idea came up when we were working on that the ClickFunnels thing, and we just hit this like snag, and then all of a sudden it was like this simple little thing that we asked for help for, and then all of a sudden it just like unlocked a whole. It just made it easy, right? And then I thought about that in life, how sometimes I know for me, I'll like sit there and struggle and try and get it myself. When if I just asked you, Kylie, you have this answer and you could just told me, and then it just unlocks something and like gets me to move forward a lot. I guess quicker, because there's something to be said about like doing everything yourself. But when you're in a group, when you have people to like help and like lean on in like a team, that's the whole idea. I was thinking about teams and why they're so important. And it's because each one of us has a different set of skills. And it would be silly for me to try and do, say, your skill set, Kylie, if we're a team, because that's what you flourish at. And each way we can be teaching each other our skill sets, but what we're strong at, that's why you build a team like that. Like in football and all these different sports, you don't have the receivers trying to be the quarterback because the quarterback's the quarterback. He's good at throwing the ball, right?
Yeah, what's the quarterback?
You're talking to a woman from Essex, UK. You might as well just spoke French.
Bonjour. Give us an analogy, Kylie.
As in, like, asking for the little things?
Yeah, something that, like...
Yeah. Well, when I was thinking about this, I don't know about you, but I have definitely been party to a lot of heated discussions, shall we say, when it comes to driving and asking for directions. And I'm not stereotyping, but the gentleman folk don't usually like to stop and ask. Like, I know we have sat-nav now, but there used to be a time when that didn't exist. And my granddad, my dad, my uncle, if you'd been in a car and they were lost and you had said to them, just wind down the window, ask someone like for some directions. Like, they're local, they're over there. No, can't do that. No, I'll figure it out. And I it was like some like fear of like losing status of not knowing every road in the world. So it's those silly little things like, if don't know where you are, just ask someone else. They're probably a
Mhm.
local. They probably know. They could probably save you an hour worth of debating where the earth you are and being lost. So yeah, I guess it's that saving. Some of it sometimes is that saving face, isn't it? Like you don't want to ask for help. But as we've just discovered, something really tiny, which we could have spent half an hour, 40 minutes probably on, trying to work out ourselves, like what was wrong. Like ask someone that knows, ask the expert, ask the person that's trained in this. As Jamie has said, we've all got our strengths, we've all got our weaknesses, but that's the whole beauty of being a team. You've got your strengths, so use that, utilize what people are good at. So yeah, I'm on board with that.
I think a lot of it is the culture of the idea of not knowing and you feeling stupid or you feeling like you should know. And there's this pressure to, as Kylie said, like to keep face, show face, and rather than just put your hand out and say, you know what, I don't know, should we ask for help? And I think that can be applied in so many different areas. Like it could be applied in health, advice, career transitions. It could be for in sports teams, in outside help, is maybe asking for a little bit of I'm a bit stuck, what do I do, where do I go, rather than just sitting in the shit really and just hoping it just all goes and someone hands you a magic wand.
I think there's that part of feeling defeated, and it's not. It's like there's so many people out there, as Jamie said, with their strengths. So there's no shame in asking for a little bit of help, where it's the big things or the little things in life. Like that's what people are around you for. Utilize them, like build those connections. Because also that's also like a moment as well. If you're asking someone for help, you're saying, I trust you. Like we're building, we're growing this connection.
Yeah, I never thought about that aspect before, the trust aspect of it. And that's amazing, right? Because if someone's reaching out to you, like there's that exactly. I trust you. I trust where you've gone. And that's a huge thing, especially with the online era of the people that like they're just being bombarded all the time with all of these people. Like there's never been another point in like history where so many people could like, you could see so many people in 1 hour even, and trying to figure out who's authentic and who isn't and stuff like that. I think we've talked about this before, and it's growing that connection with people. And whether it's online or offline or whatever, I think that's the huge, powerful tool about also being able to ask help from those people. Have you ever had a person who like just always asks for help and like doesn't actually try what they're doing first? When you were talking, I was kind of thinking about that, because there's the people that are always just like ask. I've been involved in groups before, and I think even in one of our courses, one of the instructors was like, if you guys ask me a question and I've already made a video about it, I'm not going to answer that question, because you got to put some work in yourself. So I think with this, there's a thing of go out, try yourself, see what happens. And then when you get stuck, you can come back and ask for help and be like, I tried it. I did it this way and that way and the other, and this is where I got stuck. Rather than just being like, oh, that looks like it's too hard, I'm just going to ask right away. I think even experiencing what we did with the ClickFunnels thing a minute ago, that's exactly how you were like, Kylie. You were like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to try this. And like, you were like that too, Dean. We're like, okay, what did we do? Where did we go wrong? And stuff like that. And that's awesome, because some of the times when you figure it out yourselves, that's so much more empowering, right? What other times in your life have you like tried something like that? Have you ever been in a place, Kylie, like especially, I don't know, in school or anything like that, where you didn't ask for help and you struggled and then got through it and it really paid off?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely done that in the workplace. I worked in several places when I was first starting my legal career, where there really wasn't much support around. It was credit crunch time, so there was actually very few solicitors in the building. And what law firms were doing or some law firms, I should say, was that they were staffing their firms with people like me, juniors. So you had very few seniors, so they weren't having to pay senior salary. And in those situations, it's literally the blind leading the blind. Like something would come up and there'd be no one to ask. And you'd be like, well, I've got to do something. So you would read as many articles, or I don't know, go back to books, sometimes even Google, call someone, like one of like the institutions that in my particular area of law, something called the OPG, which deals with LPAs. So I might call one of them up. Literally, I'd sometimes say to them, I'm a trainee and I've got no one to ask, so I'm calling you. And they'd be like, what? Yeah. But yeah, so, and obviously, by the time you've like gathered a whole bunch of information and tried to figure it out yourself, and you think you've got somewhere, of course, that feels good. You feel like I've triumphed over this. I've worked through it. I've grown. I've used my resources and I've worked it out. But I also do, I do still feel that, especially like in work, for example, situations, if you've got a team, there's going to be people that have got particular skills and particular talents and particular strengths. And the best thing to do is utilize them. Like those particular capabilities, get the best out of people, get them involved. And you know, if there's a problem and someone over the other side of the office is going to know how to fix it, or is probably going to have some good insight, go ask them, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm a big champion of that.
Nice. Dean, have you ever had a boss that wanted to do everything themselves and didn't seem to trust anybody or any part of their team?
Yeah, there's been a few of them. And it's been interesting because back then I was a bit of a lazy git. So I actually enjoyed that in some cases, you know, having the work done for you, you know, shed the responsibility, that kind of thing. Sorry, my finger's bleeding, so I've just put a bit of tape on it just to stop it. But yeah, there's been bosses that have been very much, they micromanage everything. They don't like to delegate the tasks, and then they have everything on their shoulders, and then the stress and the pressure is just building upon building upon building, and it gets quite intense at times. And I've noticed there's a pattern with the guys that do this, and it's generally guys and girls. I mean, guys as in neutral, gender neutral, in the sense that they don't like to share what they know. They don't want to pass on the knowledge. They don't want to share their experiences and parts of the job to others, in fear that they might get knocked off their perch, as if someone might obtain that knowledge and then go on to, you know, sidestep them, or heavens forbid, to get promoted above them. And then their knowledge and their time is deemed useless in their eyes. So there was that. And there was always a saying thrown around, and that was knowledge is power. And things are kept from us because they don't want us to progress. That was in some cases. In other cases, I think the best managers I worked under were the managers that were they love to empower people, firstly, by sharing the responsibility. And that gave people ownership, and that made myself more likely to commit to a role, because I felt like I had more responsibility, that I was invested in, and I was a key member of the team. Without that, I just felt like I'm a passenger. I do my bit, I go home, and then that's that, you know. After I leave the gates, that's it. And because I worked in quite like industries like the pharmaceutical industry, everything is procedural based. So if you didn't know what you were doing, you risked millions, if not, millions and millions of quid down the drain. So there was this aspect of this culture of, if you don't know, ask. Doesn't matter. We'd rather you ask than, you know, things go tits up. But yeah, the best managers I've worked under, they were they were in such a commanding position, and they were respected and liked in equal measure, that they were happy to to delegate the tasks and give people responsibilities. And that way people grew, and their confidence and the way they managed everything excelled. I didn't see anyone go backwards.
That's really important in the workplace, Dean, because if you've got an environment where people feel that they're going to be encouraged and championed and supported because they've asked a question and said, I don't understand this, or I don't quite get this, or I'm seeing a problem here, can you help me? Like, the worst thing you want, well, the one thing you don't want in a work environment is where people feel fear and they feel like they're going to be humiliated or ignored, or, you know, that even a little bit more confidence is going to be taken away from them because they're going to get a negative response for asking for that help. Is anywhere like in this situation where you can empower people to feel confident about asking, you know, that they've done the right thing, they've done the thing where they're trying to develop and grow and do the right thing, and you want to build that, you want to build on that. People want to feel championed and supported and praised, and that's really, really key, like what you just mentioned there. Like, I wanted to pick up on that.
Totally. I think a big thing too is culture, like the workplace culture, or the people you're around and surrounded with. It breeds that people wanting to ask questions, because I'm thinking of times where I've been too scared to reach out and ask and felt like I should know. It's because of the culture that was there. And it's the times when I've been places where I've asked a question and like the response is like, say I think it's a silly question, and like, oh my God, that's a great question, Jamie. When someone comes out like that, even if I'm like, do I have to put shoes on in here? Like, the silliest question, it's how they respond to that, and like the energy and stuff. You're like, wow, like if that's how they responded to a stupid question, then I'm definitely feeling comfortable here. But when you ask a question and then all of a sudden there's the rolled eyes and they're like, really? When they come at you like that, you're like, okay, whoa, I'm just gonna go over there and just not ask a question again. And that comes from like day one, I think, when you get in anywhere and with any group you're in, because not even in the workplace, there's certain people that are just like that, you know. They're almost like, if I know, you should know, and you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this.
But what's interesting is that when you said that, it sparked a concept in my mind, and it's a phenomenon that happened. Phenomenon. Sounds weird. Phenomenon. That happens in the boardroom of like big companies, and they're all sitting around the boardroom like a long table, and there's this weird effect that happens where they could put forward an idea or a concept and no one puts their hand up and says they don't like it or they want to ask a question. No one in the boardroom is brave enough to go, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if this is going to work. And what happens is you have this like herd mentality, and that's where this idea of very bad decisions come from. Because all it might take is one person to say, I don't understand that. I don't really get this area. Because on the board as well, as you said, they're going to be expertise in different areas. They're not all going to be in one place. They're going to be business savvy, of course, but they're going to have different areas of expertise. So there's going to be times when, you know, a concept or an idea will arise and the person might not have an idea of what it is. And it's just that fear of saying, I don't know. But that I don't know, or even challenging the idea and saying, I don't think that might work, is kind of that even on that level. So it happens all the way through, all the way up, all the way down. Mm-hmm. So I find that very interesting. And, you know, that bravery can be tough anywhere you are. If you're, you know, in a factory up to a board member level, that, you know, ask the question, because other people might turn around and say, you know what, I didn't have a clue either. I'm just nodding and pretending I do for the sake of it, you know, because we don't want to look stupid. We don't want to feel inferior. So that's quite an interesting thing. Interesting.
How many times have you been in a situation in the workplace where you thought, oh, I won't ask because, you know, I'm wasting someone else's time. You know, they look like they've got enough on their desk already. I don't want to bother them, or exactly that. Or I'm not actually sure that person's really going to give me the time of day. They're probably going to roll their eyes at me, and I think I'm a bit daft. I mean, how many times have you potentially thought like that in the workplace?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
Run out of fingers. Yeah.
so many.
And think how much money that's potentially leaving on the board table. Because if we were all able to work far more economically and be able to ask questions, get the information that we need, be able to implement it, like those sort of cultures, surely, like economically, you're running things in terms of your employees feel more motivated, encouraged, supported. But also then surely that equates to productivity. So for me, a culture like that, where people feel like heads down, I'm going to beaver on, and this is going to take me 2 days to get through the situation, and I'm potentially going to be able to still muck it up because I don't have the ability to ask someone. That's money on the table.
But I guess it comes down to limiting beliefs, because I guess it is part of our conditioning. Yet we have to take responsibility ultimately. I think that the ownership, the responsibility lies with us. But I totally get that we've been conditioned this way. Absolutely. Asking a question means you're stupid.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is to have that empowerment in that, like in yourself, knowing that I'm going to ask this question regardless of what anybody else thinks, because once I get the answer, then now I'm empowered with that answer. And no matter what anybody else thinks, I need to get that answer, right? And I mean, even there's sometimes when you can go into a conversation, and I know I've done this before, where it's like, I don't understand anything what this person said, and then I'll go kind of research, say there was like words or something. But sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes it's scenario specific, and you're just like, I am lost, guys. I mean, imagine doing that not on a work basis, but in just like a friends group or something like that, where here's an example for us. There's like snowmobiling out in the mountains, and it's very dangerous because there's avalanche danger. And imagine going with a new group of people. Say you're an avid snowmobiler and you're going with a group of these people, but you don't check in and you don't ask them what their skill levels and stuff are. And then everybody else is counting on somebody else to know more than them. And then you all go out, and this is a real scenario that happens. You all go out together, and then someone leads everybody into the wrong place, and they're the beginner, and everybody else was following them just because there was no check-in. There was no, what skill level are you at? Stuff like that. So it's like just asking in a new group kind of lets you allow you to know, oh, what's this person's skill level? What does this person know? You know what I mean? So in that boardroom scenario, it's like, it's almost silly to think that every single person knows what's going on. I bet you like some of these scenarios in boardrooms, like the guy standing up front is like, I hope somebody asks me a question because I don't expect them to know everything. And then there's crickets. So I think the people that are in power or in charge or in lead should harbor. Yeah, I don't know the word. Anyways, should make people feel comfortable to come out and ask the questions. And I've seen a good way of doing that, where you like say something and then you're like, Bob, ask, like, what do you have to say? And then when you call somebody out, then they're almost more likely to be like, okay, sure, he called me out, I'll say something. But if that guy up front doesn't go like point, and it doesn't happen until that culture gets formed and everyone feels comfortable with each other. Yeah, this is just kind of some of the things I've seen happen before that work a little bit. What else do you think works to make people like comfortable in like group scenarios?
I do think, like, we're talking about work. I do think there is a responsibility on the company to set what sort of culture it wants. Like, and it starts from the top down, right? If you want an all-inclusive situation, it needs to trickle down. Like, people need to see that the guy at the top is exactly like that, and that his ethics, what he wants, the vision that he wants for his company, that it's being implemented, like all the way down, from him right down to the lady that makes the cup of tea. It doesn't matter. who it is, but it's got to work the whole way, and it's got to start at the top. There's no exceptions. Because you're the CEO or you're on the board, you don't get away with not being like that. Like, if you want a company that works like that, it's got to be the entire spectrum.
Mhm.
And as I say, it's for me, these sort of things have always been a no-brainer. Like, I've never really understood why this company culture of you're just a number, you know, people at the top do what they want, rah rah rah. I've never understood how this has come about and why people think this is a good idea. Because you're never going to breed the things that like keep happy staff, keep staff retained, keep people motivated, and all those things to me equal productivity, equal money. So to me, it's like, as much as I want people to feel good in the workplace, from a business point of view, surely it makes more money. So I've never understood how companies ignore this about human nature and about the people that work for them. But that's my rant over.
Yeah, no, I agree, because morale is so important. Morale, if morale's on the floor, then one, you're going to have a lot of, the productivity is going to be low. People are going to leave, so you're going to have to train new people up, which takes time and money. You're going to end up with like a turnstile at the front gate where people are coming in and out, and it's just not enjoyable to be. And I think there's two schools of thought, and it depends on the company or I guess it's the company, where it's like Amazon, where it's more you focus on the customer who's buying the product, or the other school of thought is the in-house, the people that are in the building. That's your priority, and I think they depend on the business model will go a certain way. What's interesting about Google is that I feel they do a mixture of both. They really look after their staff. They've got those cool hangout places. They're fed well. There's space to chill out. It's not your conventional office. So I definitely believe that, yeah, for productivity to excel, morale has to be high, and, you know, it has to be a safe and open space. And I agree with Kylie with the idea of whoever's leading, their personality should kind of filter through every level. And that way and that air and that culture and that ethos starts at the top. Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing, one of the things from this conversation I took from you, Dean, was the ownership. That it's like you can throw money at people and it won't do anything, but then you give those same people ownership over a task or over something or over a group, then that's what really makes them flourish. And I think there's different personality types that sometimes you're going to want to have them as leaders as groups, or just a leader of a project or something like that. Yeah, it's so big. So how, I think that goes along well with like our coaching, and the idea we want to is like almost taking ownership of like your life, you know, on like that level. It's like, do it. Start asking questions. Start asking questions to people who are kind of doing the things that you want. It's such an easy thing, I think, that we overlook, because I never did it myself. I never sat down and was like, what do I really want to do? And once you do that and be like, whatever it is, you go find someone who's doing it and just ask them a few simple questions. And maybe that'll spark something in your mind that's like, oh yeah, no, I never thought about that before. Or else you'll be like, oh, actually, I really don't want to do that. You know, maybe you always thought it'd be cool to be like one of those guys that gets attacked by dogs on the movies. And then all of a sudden you ask a question, the guy's like, yeah, I had 27 stitches once. And you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to be that guy anymore.
Where were the stitches, Jamie?
Wherever it wasn't padded, the dog got me. But I think just going from that is just ask the questions. Find the people that are doing something that you want to do, and just ask them. A big thing of that is when people see me with my kite and I'm kiteboarding, they'll come up and they're curious and they're like, what is it? I've never seen this before. How does it work? And there's always these assumptions. Like I have a lot of older people come up to me and they're like, oh yeah, this is a young person's sport. And I'm like, the average people are the people doing it in Mexico, or retirees that are 65 years old, and their eyes light up and they're like, you mean I could do something like this? And it's like, yeah. But if that person didn't ask that question, they just walk by being like, oh, those young whippersnappers out there, they're just really, really killing it and having
Did
fun.
they come up to you, though, in a Zimmer frame? Because that might be false advertisement.
What's a Zimmer frame?
You don't know. Or maybe you guys call it something else. It's like
a walker.
A walker, like a metal device with wheels.
Yeah, there's definitely some people might not be able to do it, but yeah, totally, that's hilarious. No, they're not in a Zimmer walker. I think it's just called walker.
I didn't realize that was an English term, but I do now.
Yeah, interesting.
Zimmer frame.
That's
I tell you what, though, for like people that are worried, like you've been in the workplace and maybe you're currently in a situation where there are things going on at the moment. You've got projects or you've got stuff on your desk and you're pondering about things and you're not quite sure how to approach people. Literally ask someone, have you got a moment? And if they say no, because they're busy, say, when do you think you might have 5 minutes that you could just schedule in with me? So you don't necessarily have to bombard someone right then. Like if you can see they're busy and if that's something that you're worried about or you're not sure if they've got time for you, ask them when they've got if they've got a moment. And if it looks like they don't, then ask them when they've got 5. But get something penciled in. Obviously give them the breathing space if you can see that they're super busy, that they can get back to you later on in the day. But don't let it ride. Don't spend all day stressing about this thing and not knowing where to turn or what to do. Ask someone to give you 5 minutes of their time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I would say as well, stop what you're doing. Depends on the task, but I would, if that person's busy, there's generally someone else that you can turn to who's more experienced or, I would even say, like, I know you're busy, mate, or John or Jeff, whoever you are, but I'm a bit stuck and I don't want to go forward just in case I mess it up. So have you got time just to show me once again? Or because, I don't, everything is repetition. And I don't like this idea of people that, even if they went over it 5 times with you, that's fine. It's going to take time, but you're going to get there. It's when people are not asking the questions and they're skiving or doing something else instead. That's when I feel that you should worry. Until then, no one's going to think any less of you.
Yeah. So being on the opposite end, if someone's coming and asking you that question, it's like, remember, it's like some people, they're going to get it the first, some people don't even have to ask. Some people only have to ask once. Some people are going to have to ask 10 times. We're all different. And it's like, just think that person is coming to you because they trust you. And you can either build that trust from the way you react, or you can shut that down right away. And it's like that first time is very important, and just how you react. And I mean, like, just think about it. How would you like someone to react to you? That's kind of it. Just do unto others. I guess that's kind of one of them.
I was thinking, because when I was younger, I used to get the right ump with my mum and dad with technology, and I'd show them so many times, and I would literally be pulling my hair out. So this has taught me to actually, the next time, just I'm gonna walk the talk and not laugh in it.
I think we've probably all shouted at our mums over, or dads, nans, granddads, over how to use a bit of technology. But yeah, use your own medicine.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Awesome. Well, that's pretty great. I think whether you're asking or you're being asked, it's like harboring that trust and having that good culture where open communication is not only allowed, but like wanted and respected. Like if we can do that, then anything moving forward, any project, any business, anything, any friendship, any relationship, it can move forward. So I think that's it. Any last thoughts, guys?
No, just to encourage people. There are no stupid questions. Someone else won't understand it either. There's someone else out there on the same page as you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I also like the statement, a question opens the mind, a statement closes the mind.
Oh,
I do like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, guys. Well, that's awesome. Make sure if you have any questions for us, leave them below or wherever. Ask us whatever you want. We'll look at those questions and try and answer them next time, because we'll see you guys next week on Monday again. And if you like this, hit the like, subscribe, do all that awesome stuff. And yeah, other than that, I'm gonna go work on the van, because next week, maybe not next week, but definitely the week after, it's van life, baby.
Wow. Are we going to do like a special live?
A special one, like me
From the
in
van?
Oh yeah, totally, for sure. I'll probably I don't know what my setup's going to be, but it might be from the piece of technology I have in my hand here, which is amazing how powerful that is. But I'll try and find some like neat places where it's like I still get like service, but it's like literally in the middle of nowhere. That would be kind of fun to do.
Maybe
that would
get
be
a
awesome.
Get a
Sweet. Maybe
dongle.
I'll just, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll go to like hot springs in the middle of nowhere, or maybe I'll be in the middle of a mountain bike trail. Maybe I'll be with a bear. Like, who
Don't
knows?
mention hot springs.
Why?
The toolbox. That's just you're teasing people. Okay?
The
He's
tool-
off.
Mhm. Yeah. Next week we'll start the live with the tour.
Yeah, wicked, awesome.
We'll do it that way. Cool.
We've made that promise now.
Yeah. Oh, we got to get back to work, guys.
We have.
We've
We've got something special coming.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. Or awesome.
And
Okay, guys, enjoy.
Don't say I give blood, sweat, and tears to you guys.
Look at that. You're
Yeah.
actually bleeding.
Proper deep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, enjoy your week, and we'll see you next week.
See you later,
Bye,
guys.
guys.